Hello and welcome. Our networking part is actually very interesting. We understood that how two containers can communicate with each other. How we can create our own bridge as well. But today's video is even more interesting because right now in this video we are going to understand how we can access our container from outside world. So let's start. Before I am going to explain you about publish port in Docker, I want you to understand the current situation. Here I have my Docker host inside AWS. Because my Docker host is in cloud, I have public IP address as well. If you look at this whole picture, it is like this. I have one Docker host and Docker host having a NIC and NIC having a public IP. And this is the public IP address of my Docker host. Right? So overall, this is the current situation we have. Now, I want to set up one web server inside the container C1 and I want that anybody can open website from the container C1. Okay, how to do this? We have to publish the port. But what is the system? How the whole process is actually working? Let's understand this. So here I am going to start with the publish ports. By default, containers run in a private network and their ports are not accessible from the outside. Let's say that if I am going to create one container, even if it is a web server, it is actually in a private mode. Means nobody can access any port of the container from the outside world. So, by default, it is secure. Publishing a port makes service within a container reachable by application or user on the host machine or even across the network. So, when you are creating container, we have facility to publish the port. Let's say that if it is a web server, I can say that, okay, I want to publish port number 80 of this particular web server. If I am publishing this, it is accessible over the internet using this particular public IP and also accessible from the another container. So, you have to publish port if you want your container to be accessed from the outside world. Now here I have syntax of publishing port. So docker run -p then host port number. Host port number means the port number of your Docker host. So what I want to do over here, I am going to say that, okay, if somebody is going to send request on a port number 80, right, port number 80 of my Docker host, then forward this request to the port number 80 of the container. Okay, so you have to use two numbers over here. One for your Docker host. If somebody is requesting on a port number 80 of your Docker host, then forward this request to the C1 containers port number 80. Okay, so you have to specify port number 2 times. The first is for host and the second one is for the container. Now, if you look at this command carefully, you will find out that I am using this command or publishing this port. -p means publish the port while I am creating container. You may have this question that can I publish this port afterward? Let's say that I created container today and then tomorrow I thought like let's publish the port for this container. Is it possible? While it is recommended to publish the port when creating Docker container, it is typically possible to modify mapping of a running container, but this approach is less ideal and can lead the data loss or downtime. So after creating container, you can also publish the port, but it is a very complex process. So we are always publishing port while we are creating this. Now, isolation. Publish port maintain isolation between the container. Even if multiple containers use the same internal port, publishing them on a different external port on the host ensure they don't conflict. Now this is the most interesting part and I want you to understand this. Let's go for the practical first and then we are coming back to this theoretical part. So right now I am inside the Docker host. If you look at this Docker ps command, I don't have any Docker container. If I am giving command Docker ps-a, I don't have any container. I have some images and if you look at this, here I have one image which is my web server. I already explained you that do not delete this image because we will use this image. So right now I am going to use this my web server image. Okay. I hope you have this. Otherwise you can watch previous video of Dockerfile and then you can watch this and then come back because we need to use this particular image. Now, what I am doing, I am going to create container using this image and I am going to publish port as well. Okay. So the command is docker run. Docker run is used to create container. Now, I am going to use interactive mode. So -it -name. I am going to set that web1. Here I want to publish the port. So I am going to say -p. Then I am going to say if somebody is going to request on a port number 80 of host, then forward the request to this container which we are creating on a port number 80. We are using my web server image and we want to go with the prompt. So I am going to say bin/bash /bin/bash. Okay. So done and I just created the container. Now I want to verify that do we have this web server running inside this or not. So I am going to verify this service Apache to status. See, Apache is there because we have created this from the Apache server image, so it is there, but Apache is not running. So I'm going to start this. Okay. See, starting Apache web server 2. It is starting. Now let's go with the status and Apache is running. Now what is the meaning of this? The meaning is if somebody will send request on a port number 80 of my Docker host, it is going to forward this request to the container C1 on a port number 80. Okay. Let's check it out. Let's open the website. So this is IP address. I am going to copy this and here I am going to paste this. Yes, testing Ubuntu web server with container. Website is running and make sure that you have port number 80 open in the security group as well, specifically if you are using AWS environment. So yes, everything is good. Now let's go and understand the isolation. See, publish port maintain isolation between the container. Here I just publish port number 80 of the container C1. Now I can also publish port number 80 of C2 container. Okay, I can. There is no relation between 80 port of C1 and 80 port of C2. So they are totally isolated. But one thing that we need to understand over here is even if multiple containers use internal port, publish them on the different external port of the host, ensure they don't conflict, there is no need to worry. So there is isolation. Right now, you can also publish port number 80 of C1, also publish port number 80 of C2. There is no need to worry. But now, understand this. Conflict port. If you try to publish port that's already used on the host machine, Docker will throw an error. You will need to choose different host port to free up the conflict port. Now this is one of the important part. Let me explain you this. See.
Sorry guys, sorry to disturb you. I know you all are enjoying the session and suddenly it stopped. But if you want full video or if you want full Docker course having 130 plus videos including projects, you can become our community member. Enrollment link is in description. Moreover, we also provide 24/7 support, weekly lifetime live session with Bhavesh Atara, updates and completion certification as well. Still you have any queries regarding it, you can contact me on my personal number. Thank you.